If I could only keep 5 tools to cut out images and remove backgrounds in Photoshop, I'd start by keeping this first tool called Blend If, but as you'll see, every tool has its own strengths that make them each individually so valuable, especially the 5th one. Now, Blend If is a feature that's found within layer styles and is super useful whenever we need to remove a solid colored background from something like a graphic. To access this feature, we just double click on the empty area of the layer to access layer styles, and within the blending options, we'll see the Blend If sliders. Now, typically, we would just move the current layer slider because we want to edit this current layer, and we would either go and remove from the shadows, which as you can see here, the black now disappears, or we would go and remove from the highlights, which if we had a white background, this would pretty much make the white background go away immediately. But because we have a yellow background, we'll have to move this a little bit further like so to remove the background in this particular image, because although the background was yellow, it's still part of the highlights exposure range if we think of it as a luminance value. The only downside to this method, however, is if we zoom in, there's just a little bit of the yellow fringing still left over in this case. So when you're using this method with a colored background, what you can do to further refine the edges is change the Blend If channel to the one related to the color that you're left over with. So since I have yellow left over as the fringing, if I go to the red color channel, which is the most closely related color to yellow in this case, I can now go to the highlights of the red channel and do the exact same thing, bringing this back. And you'll notice how, just looking really closely up here, we can see how that yellow begins to disappear from the graphic. So we have a little bit less fringing. Now, if you have a really blocky edge, what we can do to further smooth that is hold Alt or Option, click outside of that point to feather it, and then that way we'll get a nice soft transition and maintain the sharp edges around the graphic. Clicking OK to exit that. So this is one of my favorite tools for background removal, particularly in graphics, because it's just so easy and you don't even have to mess around with selection tools. But in this next example, the tool that I'm about to mention, I only like when we change this one setting. So that next background removal tool is Select Subject, but there's actually 2 different kinds of Select Subject in Photoshop. We have the device rendering and cloud detailed results rendering. Now, by default, you'll see the Select Subject button in the contextual taskbar while your image layer is selected. But if we access any of our W shortcut tools, we also have a Select Subject button up here with an arrow that we can go and choose where our selection is being rendered from. Now, by default, it's going to be set to device, but we can change this inside of our preferences, which I'll show you how to do after I show you these differences. But for the sake of example, let me show you the problem with device rendering. So if I click on device and I'll go and choose Select Subject now, you can see that it created a selection of the dog, but it missed a few areas. And if I were to go and remove this background, we can see that the fur does not look very good. There's still lots of the dark pixels from the background and it's not very refined. So let me now duplicate this image layer and retry again, but with the cloud detailed results. On this duplicated layer, I'll this time go up to the arrow and choose Cloud Detailed Results within the options bar while any of my W shortcut tools are selected. And now I'll click Select Subject again, and you'll notice immediately that we have a bit of a more precise selection. And it gets even better when we apply a layer mask, because with that selection made, applying a layer mask to that layer, I'll disable the image that we had originally, and now you can see how much better this looks. So turning on the previous version, and then this is with the cloud detailed results. So we have a way better selection right out of the gate, almost automatically, including more of a precise selection around other areas of the photo. Now, to make this your default option whenever you use Select Subject in Photoshop, all we'll need to do is go to Photoshop Settings and then down here to Image Processing if you're on a Mac. If you're on Windows, we'll go to Edit, Preferences, and then Image Processing from there. Now, inside of this window, just make sure that you have this setting right here enabled to Cloud Detailed Results. You will need Wi-Fi if you're going to use this feature, so just keep that in mind. But since I'm pretty much always on Wi-Fi when I'm on my desktop computer, I just leave it like that, and that makes my life a lot easier in Photoshop. Now, although this tool is wonderful, there are a few things that don't work very well with it sometimes, and that is messing up the selections or not quite selecting what you were looking for. Because with that Select Subject button, everything is done automatically. But we can blend the world of having an automatic fast selection while also having a little bit more control with my next favorite tool called the Object Selection tool. This is found underneath the quick selection tool or the magic wand, so I'll go ahead and select the object selection tool. There's a few different ways that we can create selections with this tool as well. The first is to click on select people, it'll scan your photo, and kind of similar to like a Lightroom or Camera Raw automatic mask, we'll be able to highlight the selected person, and if we clicked on it, it would turn it into a selection. But most of the time, at the time of recording at least, this option doesn't often give you a very good selection. So instead, I go and rely on either the lasso or the rectangle mode. These just offer different ways to define an area within your photo for Photoshop to look for an edge to select. In this case, I'll go and choose the rectangle tool, and then I'll click and drag out to create a selection around the general subject that I want to select. So in this case, I'm creating that box around the entire subject. I'll now let go. Photoshop looks within this box for something to select, and it automatically snaps to those edges. Now, a lot of the time it does a decent job out of the gate, but as you'll notice, there are some problems such as around here. So fortunately, we can easily update all of these settings just by holding Alt or Option to subtract from our selection, or the Shift key to add to our selection. We can also mix and match the modes that we use as well. So previously I was using the rectangle mode, but now I'll go and make my refinements with the lasso mode. I'll then make sure to click on the gear icon and enable object subtract, as this often helps to snap to edges a little bit better. Now with that good to go, since I want to subtract from this current selection, I'll hold Alt or Option, and then now I can click and drag because we're using the lasso mode, so it can create a freehand defined area, and then I'll let go and it will automatically subtract that. If there's an area that we need to add in, we just hold the Shift key. You'll notice the little plus icon beside my cursor, and still with the lasso mode, I can define the small area that I want to add to, and then Photoshop will update that accordingly. Now you can just go and repeat this process around the entire selection until you're happy with the result, and then of course we can add a layer mask and our job is done. The only downside is that this method doesn't work very well with fine details, especially around hair or fur and things like that, but it does work really well along clean edges, such as his clothing in this case. Now, although these automatic selection tools can be super useful, there are many times where they aren't going to snap to the edge of your subject because the edge is not clearly defined. In a lot of these cases, you're going to have to rely on the next tool, which is the pen tool. And the reason it's one of my favorites is because it gives you the most possible control, because you're the one manually creating the anchor points, and it gives you the sharpest possible selection edge. That way you have more freedom of the size that you use that cutout in within a new project. So let's just start fresh to see how that works really quickly. Starting fresh with the original image, I'll access the pen tool by pressing P, and we'll first want to make sure that we have the mode set to path. Now essentially how we create selections with the pen tool is that when we click, we create an anchor point, we click again, we create another anchor point connected by a line called a path. As we continue to click or click and drag to curve our path, and then go all the way back around to the starting point, we have a complete path that we can then right click within and go to make selection. And this is how we go and cut out objects with the pen tool. Now, I've already gone ahead and done this already because it does take a little bit of time to manually go around every little edge of your subject. So I'm going to go ahead and load that in now. This is what my final pen path looked like. And if you're unfamiliar with how the pen tool works, I'll leave a 30-minute masterclass to know everything you need to know about this tool in the description below to check out after this video. But for the sake of example, to show you how this looks in comparison to the object selection, I'll just right click within the completed path and go to make selection. We can set our feather radius to 0, or I often like to use 0.5, so we just have a more natural blend on the edge of our selection. I'll click OK, and then we can go and add a layer mask to remove the background. Now, the downside of the pen tool is that you obviously can't go and select around really fine edges, such as the hair or around the pants, as you just saw a second ago. To solve this, we need to use things like the Select and Mask workspace, which is outside of the scope of this lesson, but again, I'll leave some resources below for you to learn more about that. I already went ahead and used the Refine Edge brush tool to update the hair and things from my pen path so that it looked a little bit better. I'm just going to go ahead and load that final mask in. Now with those refinements made, we have a much better selection. And if we compare it to the object selection example, just move this over so we can see the differences here. The hair looks quite a bit nicer with the manual refinements and the pen tool. We have a little bit more of a clean selection around the collar and things like that, as well as around his headband. And this sort of theme continues around the entire photo. We have a little bit more of a sharper edge here compared to this. So it all depends on your tastes in your project. If you want the sharpest possible edge, you're going to want to use the pen tool and refine things a bit further with select and mask. Now, the fifth and final selection tool that I couldn't live without is called channels. And the reason why is because it does an amazing job at selecting really tiny details in high contrast photos. So a high contrast photo is anything where our subject, which in this case is the trees, stands out really clearly in terms of exposure against the background, which is the sky. So when we have an image like this, we can use channels to easily select all of these little tree branches, which would be almost impossible to select with any other tool we've talked about so far. So to use channels, our first step is to go to our channels panel. And if you don't see this, just go up to Window and then down to Channels to access that. Our next step is to click between the different color channels to find the one with the most contrast between the foreground and the background. Every photo is different, but in this example, the blue channel has the most contrast. But in order to turn this into a clear selection, we need to push any areas that are gray into either fully black or fully white, so then that way we have a nice defined edge for Photoshop to create a mask from. To adjust this contrast, we need to first go and duplicate our channel, so that way we're not changing up the colors in the actual image. So clicking on the channel with the most contrast and dragging it down to the new layer icon, this will create a copy that we can now edit the contrast on. My preferred tool for doing this is levels. So while the blue copy channel is selected in this case, I'll press Command or Control L, and then we can go and use the shadows point to make the shadows more black, of course, and the highlights point to do the opposite. Now, if we zoom in, you'll want to make sure that there's not any weird areas that are missing. But if there are, we can go and touch those up using the brush tool, which I'll show you how to do in just a moment. But for now, just make sure that everything looks good to you and that there's no gray areas around the photo anymore. If there are, even after making these changes, what we can do to solve this is use our brush tool in the overlay blend mode. Before we get there though, I'll just click OK to exit that. Now the contrast has been applied, but as I mentioned, we still have all of these areas that need touching up. So when we have a general area that has white speckles or gray speckles within an area that should be fully black, our job is pretty easy because we can grab our brush tool by pressing B and then go and set our foreground color to black and then just paint over any of the areas that we want to be fully black. Now just take a moment to go and paint over all of the areas until all of that white is gone. Once that's good to go, you'll want to double check around the other areas in your photo. Now you can see I have an area right here that should be fully black, but now I'm near a much harder edge. So I'll right click to access my brush settings and bring the hardness up to a higher value so I can match the hard edge of the tree. Now scaling down the brush using the bracket keys, I can just go and paint over this area to fill that in, and then that way we'll have a cleaner mask when everything is complete. Now, in some cases, you'll end up with parts of your photo that are a bit gray and you need to push them to be either fully black or fully white. In that case, what we can do is still with the brush tool, just change the mode down here to overlay, and then we can set our foreground color to black if we want to make a light gray area fully black, or we'll change it to white if we want a gray area to be fully white. Either way, when this is enabled, we'll be able to paint over the opposite color and it's not going to affect it. So that way you can remove any bits of fringing that are left over around the tiny details. But to turn this into a final selection, all we need to do is hold Command or Control and click on the thumbnail of the blue copy channel. This will select the edges between the white and black pixels. So going back to our layers panel and clicking on the image layer, I can now add a layer mask to remove the background. But since this is the opposite of what I want, I'll make sure the layer mask is selected by clicking on it and then press Command or Control I to invert it. And then now with that all finished, we have successfully cut out the background using channels with a technique that gives us a result we wouldn't have been able to get with any of the other tools that we've covered so far. Now, although these are the 5 selection tools that I just couldn't live without in Photoshop, there's still extra steps in terms of refinements that will make your average selections look way more professional. And I break down what all of those are in this video right here, showing you 3 simple refinement tricks that you need to know for better selections in Photoshop. So once you have your favorite tools memorized, these are the techniques that you'll want to use in all of your projects going forward. So I hope to see you there next.